Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We've got 2 more days in the week. We're going to look at our penultimate episode for this week's theme of math rock. We've got that, and then afterwards we're going to have a special selection. Today's pick is Tera Melos. The song is In Citrus Heights. Let's see what's going on here. So the time signature is all over the place. What I'm feeling are sets of 4/4 followed by usually a bar of extremely oddness. The section before this was 2 bars of 4/4 and then a bar of 9/8. Well, it's not 9/8, 7/8. And it's playing around with so much dissonance. So that's fun, that's playful. This back and forth, it's getting me. I think there's even some polymeter going on. I really like the panning right here.
Plastic figurine, shielding them inside, keeps them safe at night.
Those drums are interesting too. At first they were doing some metronome stuff, and now they're just off on their own little tangent.
Shooting them inside.
Wow. There's a lot going on in this song. And the funny thing is, I feel like it could fit into a lot of the weeks we've done recently. There's sort of a lo-fi kind of emo thing going on, but they're also highly dissonant. And then, of course, they have a lot of mathy elements in here as well. Um, yeah, I really could have seen this in anything that we've checked out in the last 4 weeks. I think this one had a fit for multimedia, but the other three that we've done in the last 4 weeks definitely would have worked in. Um, dang though, just it's all over the place. It's going to be difficult for me to say anything cohesive about it because I do not have a cohesive overview of the song. But let's dive into this. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what I can actually pick out. And yeah, so a lot of the song is based on dissonance. Not just tonal dissonance, where two notes don't create strong harmony, but also rhythmic dissonance. I also want to say that there's some disjointed aspects to the meter and the phrasing because, well, there's one of two things going on here as far as that. We either have a time signature that is changing every other bar, or we're working within musical phrasings that don't line up with the bars at the end of every bar, and it actually lines up in something on a bigger picture. I didn't really notice this until 2 or 3 sections before the end, when there was one part that felt like we were shifting between 7/8 and something else. I don't know if you noticed when I was bobbing my head, there was parts where I was on the downbeat with the rest of the band, and then parts where I was bobbing my head against the band, and it seemed like my downbeats in my head bobbing was not anything to do with any of the music, but it always lined back up. It's just that the phrasing, when the phrasing lined back up with the meter, was not at a small point in time. It wasn't, a small chunk, it was a larger chunk of the song. And I'm wondering how often that happens in the composition and also how long some of these sections are. I found the one that was about, I don't know, was that like an 8-bar phrase where half of it didn't line up? But how often were they working within 16-bar phrases where the picture was just too large for me to see on a first time listen while I'm still trying to take everything else in rather than, just the rhythmic aspect? There's so much more that I need to be listening to. Um, so it's one of those two things. They're either changing the time signature every bar, which just sounds ridiculous to me. It's not something I would do. Just because, well, see, here's the thing too. I wouldn't do it because I'm a composer, and the purpose of my writing notes on paper is so that when I hand it to the performer, they can understand what's going on. It needs to be clearly written. Time signatures, it's like grammar. It allows you to see the rules and the rhythmic cadence of the notes on the paper, and gives you a nice guideline to apply to it so you're not micromanaging what each bar is supposed to feel like. It gives you an overall groove for it all. Um, but it's not necessary. And in this case, they are the composers and the performers, I assume. They don't need to write it down, they just need to feel it. So honestly, if they want to change the bar or change the time signature on every single bar, that's fine because most likely they're not reading the sheet music anyways. They might just do that because that's the easiest way that they have to, write it down. Whether they're using sheet music or something like Guitar Pro or some sort of, sheet music program, it's easier for them to visualize it that way when they're writing it. But when they play it, they don't need to look at time signatures. They don't need to worry about time signatures because it's something they're already feeling. It's something that they felt when they wrote it down, and they actually had to find the time signature to write it down. But innately, there's no time signature, it's just a feel. Um, so, like I said, it really doesn't matter which way they go about doing it. It's really about intentions and necessities. Um, but I wonder how much of this would fit into a single meter, or maybe just 2 meters that they bounce back and forth between. You just really have to look at it on a wider scale. So, but regardless, the end result is that the song feels highly disjointed rhythmically, um, and not just because of the rhythms in isolation, but because of the rhythms as a whole and how they feel against, or how they work against the time feel. And there's disjointedness there as well. The phrasing feels off because, at least for me, where I thought we were going to get downbeats, we didn't. And maybe technically the time signature did denotate a downbeat there, but there was no accented beat from any of the instruments to portray that information, which just makes it feels like I'm constantly tripping listening to this song. Every time I think I've got my footing and I understand what's going on, they change it up. So we have an extremely disjointed song, and dissonant in that aspect. But we also have dissonance harmonically. A lot of these notes do not play well with each other. And it's not harsh dissonance like we've seen in some bands, especially if you go back to Dissonance Week. There's a lot of stuff back there that, just really going into, half steps, and making sure that things are just extremely harsh to listen to. This is more of a tonality thing, I would say, especially with the vocals. The vocals, they were double tracked, or maybe there were two vocalists just slightly out of tune with each other. It's not dissonant in the fact that it sounds like it's that nails on the chalkboard kind of texture, but it's dissonant in the fact that they're slightly off. Um, and I think some of that works its way into the two guitar lines as well. There's beauty in what's being played, but it's slightly off. It's something's just not right about it, and it probably delves a little bit into microtonality with the way that they've composed this. And then I would say there's even a little bit of dissonance in the sonic identity of the song. It mixes lo-fi aesthetics in some places with very clean modern style guitar production in others. I feel like a lot of the acoustic guitar work has a bit of a lo-fi feel. The vocals have a bit of a lo-fi feel, but there was one particular electric guitar tone that came in that was very full-bodied, very clean, had a very strong mix to it. Just a very strong, prominent voice hitting this group of mostly lo-fi mixed elements. So it's just a song about, at least to me, dissonance in many forms, but not dissonance that takes away from consonance, if that makes sense. Like I said, there's still a lot of beauty in the guitar work. There's some really nice drum lines, drum rhythms. There's just some really nice parts in here that are contrasting real hard with the way the song's been produced. When you take out the rhythmic aspect, I don't think there's anything in the rhythmic aspect that is providing stability to the song in any way. But harmonically and production wise, there's a lot of beauty in what's going on that's undermined a little bit by an intentionality in creating uh, dissonance and chaos, injecting into those ideas. And I don't know what to say about that. I'm kind of tempted to pick up some lyrics, but I don't think it's going to help. This was released in 2011. So we're looking at a year and a half old, or a decade and a half old here. Yeah, it's only it's only 2012, right? I'm not 33 years old. Um, yeah, so we're looking at a decade and a half old, which is interesting because it's math rock week, and I would say that there's some math rock ideas in here, but once again, either my concept of math rock is too narrow, or much like As I Watch You From Afar, I think that's the band name. There's some math rock ideas in here presented in a non math rock foundation. To me, this is very much sort of lo fi indie emo kind of thing, something similar to the Microphones, but with more rhythmic technicality in it. And it's a strange place, I would say, especially considering, like I said, what I kind of expect math rock to be about, which is, technically impressive, usually higher end playing, brighter mixes, and strong repetition in sort of the groove of this technicality. Stuff like Chan and Invalids and TTNG and you know Covet. That's kind of the sound that I thought we were going to be going for with this, and I don't see a lot of that in here. To me, this sounds like indie rock with some mathy rhythmic elements rather than math rock. But I've also heard a lot of stuff this week that I would not classify under math rock, and seemingly it is. So maybe it's just that the math rock umbrella is quite a bit larger than I perceive it to be. And that is cool. I'm always happy to hear new stuff and to find new ways that that musicians influence each other, that genres can bleed across lines and, form new ideas. Like this, I never thought that I would hear indie emo math rock with lo-fi mixing and tons of cacophony. But here we are. And I feel like this is a bit short of an analysis, but aside from the fact that it's chaotic and blends beautiful elements in this chaos, this song's kind of got me stumped on a first time listen. I don't really have anything else to say about it. So I guess that's where you guys come in, though. Hit me up with anything that might have stood out to you. If you've heard this band before, you've heard the song before, you have some insight into it, let me know. If there's anything that you think would help my understanding of it, I'm all ears. Usually I like to tell you guys what's going on with the song, but every once in a while, I just get completely stumped, and it's an opportunity for me to learn about something, because, like I said, this one kind of went over my head aside from the chaos of it. All right, when you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box. There's a link in there for Linktree. Takes you to a website menu. It has all sorts of stuff related to the channel, Twitter, Patreon, Discord, my email, all of it. If you're interested in anything besides just watching me, head there. There's like 11 links. Above the description box, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. We've got one more video coming up in an hour, in 10 minutes. My brain is not working today. We got one more video coming up in 10 minutes. It'll be a special selection. Otherwise, as usual, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC. We'll be looking at the final song for Math Rock Week and also checking out a creator's request, a band or an artist who has created music and has emailed me and wants me to check out their music personally. All right, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.